Hello there and welcome to this video. This past week I've been trying to recreate the physics gun behavior you might know from Garry's mod in Unity3d. I have made some decent progress, have something that works, but it's not quite there yet. There's still some bugs. In this video I will show you how I got started and how far I am right now, and how I plan to progress and how I might need your help to do that. So let's get started. If you're one of my 7 subscribers, you might know that I'm working on a first-person fireworks simulator game. Basically it's a sandbox kind of game where you can fool around with fireworks. I still don't have a title for it, so if you have an idea, let me know in the comments. As a core part of this gameplay is about interacting with objects, mostly different kind of fireworks, it is important that the mechanism for doing so is intuitive and solid. It needs to feel good and easy to interact with these objects. My first attempt was a simple pick up and hold in hand kind of logic where you looked at an object, pressed a button, and then the object just got teleported into your hand and then it was stuck there. It kind of worked, but it felt pretty stiff and you didn't have much control of placement of objects. I didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted exactly, but then my brother showed me the physics gun in Garry's mod and that looked exactly like something I could use. So to recap for those of you who don't know Garry's mod and the physics gun. Garry's mod is a sandbox game on Steam that heavily relies on physics. I think it's a mod to Half-Life 2 or something like that. You can freely spawn a lot of different models, basically models from Half-Life 2, and play around with them in this sandbox. To interact with these models, you can use something called a physics gun. With the physics gun you can pick up and throw objects, and you can rotate them and freeze them in a specific location where you want, so they are no longer affected by gravity, which all objects by default is in Garry's mod. After seeing this physics gun and trying it out myself, I knew that this was kind of what I wanted actually in my game. It's easy to use and it has a good feeling to it, the way you interact with objects. So the next step were to figure out how to implement this in Unity3d, which is the game engine I'm using. I was expecting to either find some open source script I could reuse with minor modifications to fit my game, or that I could buy a complete physics gun asset in the Unity3d asset store, but man was I wrong. At least I haven't found anything that remotely can do this. So if you know a complete physics gun for a Unity engine that I can buy or open source script, please let me know in the comments, because that's what I'm about to build myself, and I would rather use another version than having to build it all by myself. Anyway, it turns out a very few people have actually tried to implement something like the gravity gun. At least they haven't shared it online. So where I am right now, I found 2 things. First, I found a script that implements a basic physics gun, or actually it's a gravity gun basically, which is another thing in Garry's mod, but it has some similarities. But it's not a fully script I can use for all the features I want. But I have this script and that's what my script is based on. Secondly, I found a video of a guy who have a pretty decent implementation of a physics gun in Unity3d. Sadly, he don't share how he does it, or a script, or explain how he does it. It's not a tutorial, he's just showing off what he did, and it looks pretty awesome actually. So it's kind of a bummer that he don't share how he did it. So at this point I knew I had to build it myself, which is fine, but I also knew that I would without a doubt need some help at some point. And knowing that it's very hard to find such a physics gun for Unity3d online, I got a brilliant idea. At least I think it's a brilliant idea. If I isolated this physics gun portion or behavior script from my game, which is actually fairly easy, I could put that into a new and simple sample Unity3d project, and then take that project and put up on GitHub as an open source project. By doing that, I can achieve two major things actually. First, other people in the future that search for a physics gun to Unity3d can find this project and avoid having to do it themselves like I have. Secondly, it would be easier for me to get help from the community, as they could download a complete sample and help solve the issues that I run into. By doing this, it becomes more kind of a community project, and people can tip in with fixes and do pull requests, and it's easier for people to help out on the script if it's open source on GitHub. So that sounds like a great idea, right? Well, at least that's what I did. So right now I have an open source project on GitHub with a physics gun sample in its current state here as of February 2019. And you can see a link in the description for this project. So if you're a Unity3d developer, please feel free to help out and improve and optimize and in general make this script better. I look forward to your pull requests. But it's not all good, because the script I have in my sample here in GitHub is not fully working. I'm currently facing two major issues that I want to put some focus on in the last part of this video. So let's take a look at the sample and the issues I'm currently having that I could need some help and some guidance to fix. So let's take a look at it. So here we are in the open source project that I now put on GitHub. It's called Unity3d Physics Gun. I will put a link in the description, of course, and I will also put a link to the specific script that I will show you today, and the script that actually does this physics gun magic, you could say. So enough about that. I have it open up here, and it's a basic little scene with an FPS controller from the standard assets, and some UI for some crosshairs, so you can see where you're pointing, objects, some lights and stuff like that. Basic stuff. The thing that is special about this is that it has this physics gun interaction behavior script. That's just the name I picked for it right now, and that's the interesting part. So if we open up that one, we can see here's the script. I won't go through it here because it makes no sense, because I guess very quickly after this video go out, this script will look different anyway. But what I will show you is the two major issues I have right now that I haven't been able to solve myself yet. I like alignment, let's do like that. And that is that, yeah, let's start it first. We can have a look here. So we can walk around, there's some objects you can interact with. Okay, so the first issue, well, let me show you first the thing that work. And the thing that work right now is the rotation thing. I actually made that work pretty good. So if I enable my webcam here, you can see my hands, so you can see how I move my mouse. So I click the mouse and grab this object. So that's fine. Now it's floating around in air here, and I can turn around, and I can actually also throw it away if I wanted to. Anyway, let's pick up this bad boy here. So this one, if I pick it up, hold down left mouse. The controls is not that important. I'm just informing now because it also might change how that works. But the thing is that I made the rotation part work pretty good now. It works pretty close to how Garry's mod works. Right now I have it bind to the R key. In Garry's mod it's E, doesn't really matter. Anyway, when I hold down R while I have the object grabbed, I can rotate the mouse. I can move the mouse to rotate this object. And if I move forward, the object will move forward, and backward it will move backwards. And that doesn't matter how I have rotated in this rotation, if it makes sense. I guess it doesn't make sense, but the script worked in a different way in the beginning, and that was kind of a odd feeling when you used it. Right now it's a little more intuitive, at least I think so. So when I take the mouse from left to right here, the object turns around like that. So if I have it here, move forward, it works that way, and turn it around halfway. Before the script, when I then moved forward, the cube would go forward in relation to its own rotation, but now it goes forward in relation to the player. Again, I don't know if it makes sense, but this works pretty good. I'm actually pretty satisfied with this. You can do it with all sorts of objects here. Like this, we can it's around. We can take this one. Maybe it's easier to see here. Take it forward and backwards, and then left to right. So that's good. It actually works pretty good. Only thing I don't like right now is it's a little kind of lagging, or it's not smooth enough. But I'll look into that later if it's actually a problem. I want to make it work, kind of the logic first. So that's the first thing, and this actually works. The issue I have is that when I pick up an object and rotate myself around, the cube or the object doesn't rotate. It sticks to the original rotation. I would expect this cube to keep the same relative position to the player. So for instance, if I was here, I would expect it to keep this side of the cube against me all the time, against the player, but it doesn't. However, I have the script in here. I can go over that in a moment. If I enable this one, then we have this working. So if I pick up an object now and rotate, it stays in place. It sticks to the rotation relative to the player that it had in the beginning. And it works, of course, also with all kind of objects. And there are two issues. First of all, this script here, well, not this script, but with this logic enabled, the cube, if the object have some kind of rotation, when I pick it up, it goes totally bonanza. See? Because it was spinning before I picked it up, it just goes mad. See here? Poof, again. If I keep it clean, leave it like that, pick it up nice and slowly, it works fine. So something is off in this calculation. So that's the first problem. Figuring out this, you can see here it goes bonanza again. So that's the first thing. Figuring out how to not make it go bonanza when even if it's rotating, it should just, you know, freeze. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that I cannot make it, for some reason, make this work with both these two things enabled at the same time. If you should go over just a little code here, the first quaternion here is supposed to be the intentional rotation. This is the rotation that it calculates based on my mouse movements from before when I rotated. Hold down R and rotate the object. So if I rotate the, and this is the grabbed rigid body, which is the object that I'm holding. So if I move the rotation of that object to that quaternion from the intentional rotation, you could say, it works fine. That part works fine. This one is supposed to be the relative to the player rotation, meaning the relative rotation from the object I'm grabbing to the player. So when I turn around, it sticks in place, sticks to the same, or to the same rotation as it started, relative to the player. But combining these two so I can have both in, I simply can't make that work right now. Hopefully, if you see this video in some time, other than now, February 2019, when I publish it, this has hopefully been solved. And you can go into the GitHub project and download this perfect script that just works nicely. Hopefully, due to all the help I got from the community with building the script. Let's hope it turns out that way. At least this is the project, this is the script, and hopefully some of you can help me out. I'll of course continue working on my own, but this video, I think I will post that into some forums, Reddit or whatever, to get some help with this script, because, well, I need it in my game, but also we have it as an open source project and script, so that everybody else can use this script in the future if they want. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Bye.